you got to stick to the cap, even if it hurts. Now, last year you tried to challenge the cap. That was a very smart move. I know it didn't go well. I was at 34 votes with it, but I got news for you. Hell had no fury, right? You got to try, because it was the only way to save it, to be honest with you, because you're going to need all the money you can get. So here's what my recommendations. First of all, keep in mind, you've got an interim business official. Your superintendent works like a dog. I got to tell you, every time I call him, he's working on something for me. So I got to apologize for dragging you through everything. And your interim business official, I tortured her to death. So she's probably too ill to come tonight. So, and your new business official will be just great. I love working with Mike. He's really fast and nice. Okay, so that's really good for you. But the key thing is the budget's not done. We could still have things happen where else you need more people want to leave, more substitutes, more kids show up, need special programs, right? So to me, I usually tell all districts, I usually cut off expenses December 1 because we got to count the money. If it's mission critical and you need to do it for a kid or for a program or whatever, yes, you do it. But we don't just sit there trying to find out how we're going to spend out the rest of our budgets. The truth of it is every buck counts, especially where you guys are at. Next, B, the process is difficult. If you ask me right now, Rick, you gave us health insurance projections. Is that exactly how much your health insurance is going to cost? I have no idea. But I've got to tell you, that's your trend data if you keep everybody you got. And the problem you've got with many districts, and although you've right-sized a bit, the truth of it is, when COVID came in, we sometimes grew a lot of staff or kept a lot of staff. Things were more robust. But the thing is, once that federal money went away, it was all on your dime. And the longer you keep them, the more it starts draining your treasury and extrapolating those numbers into bigger numbers. Think of something. If we had a budget, I remember you saw one, say about 150,000, it's moving at 3 or 4%. That's one issue. But when you got an issue where you got something at $12 million and it's moving at 10%, you got a different problem. So whatever the issue is, so bigger numbers and bigger percents yield real problems. Cost reduction should always be away from the kids first. Now, the truth of it is sometimes you try and economize, become more efficient. Every school district should every year. I was a superintendent, and believe me, I was trying to get my system more efficient, more effective every year. It's not as easy as it sounds, because you get to a point of, no returns. You're like hardly doing anything. But you got to try. But the key thing is, here's the problem. Inflation is a big problem for all school districts. It's not 2.8, it's not 3.1. Okay, the cost of textbooks, materials, lab equipment, insurances, and all kinds of stuff is not following the CPI. It's greater than the CPI. Okay, so that's a problem. The next one, reevaluate purchases and staff need. Listen, when you had everybody, I remember during COVID, we hired some people probably in every district to help these kids catch up and everything else. And that was nice when we had somebody else's money. But when we're looking at the future and it doesn't look too healthy, that need, all of a sudden we have to reevaluate what's more important than what else inside this district. And that includes student programs and everything else. Class sizes, enrollment, and retirements and things like this got to be taken into consideration. You got to start looking at what are we going to buy? What are we going to schedule? How are we going to schedule this? How are we going to get this stuff? So the thing is it's very difficult, but it's necessary. But here's the thing you got to remember. School systems, sometimes there's a certain part that's on automatic pilot. If you need a physics teacher, you need a physics teacher. And they're not easy to come by. I think you've got a champion here, your new business official, but I think that's almost by luck if you think about it. Let's face it. The truth of it is, do you have 100 candidates or anything? No, I don't think so. Okay, so the problem is, it's starting to be a real problem in certain areas. So the thing is, all right, now monitor expenditures to the financial plan, limitations on revenues, salaries, and benefits can overwhelm the district's finances versus any potential revenue gains. Now, this is really difficult for me to say because for 10 years I was a teacher union president. But the truth of it is we can only have as many people as we can sustain. Otherwise, we drag the whole thing down. Does that make sense to you? We're going to have to make some tough choices, programs and things like this. So you're going to have to take a look at who's absolutely cannot work without them. Then you're going to have to adjust your revenues to go be able to pay for that. Right now, I only see a $6 million gap in 5 years. I think you got to do some major movement here. And don't forget, you got to develop a long-range plan because the cavalry's not showing up. I don't think the state's showing up real fast to help you out. The next thing is annually evaluate reserves and fund balance for sustainability and liabilities. Some of those reserves are there for a purpose, and we're going to eat them up just running the system, I think, at this rate. Long-range financial and capital plans help to stabilize the tax cap and are a useful strategy, and if you missed that boat, I think at least 4 times looking at the tax cap. District must continue to right-size based on diminished enrollments and trend data. And that's going to be very hard. So I dug up some stats on your district. Right now in the current budget, taking into account, there's a number of positions that haven't been filled and the retirees are being replaced by people on a lower salary. Call that breakage. So that's helpful. There's also an English language ELL teacher, called ENL teachers. There's some of those. For last year, there's 106 teachers on top step 20. Now, nothing against these people. I'm sure they all worked hard. I worked till retirement too. All right. My daughter's a teacher. Hello. But the thing is it's affordability question. Does that make sense to everybody? Personal. For 25, 26, it's going to be 113. You have 15 people with 30 years or more of longevity. Normally it's 30 and 55 and out. So I think the thing is this it's heavy. You're heavy on the top, which means is sometimes what happens is you start jettisoning the bottom, and that's your replenishment system. Very difficult. And I'm sure there are certain programs that are very important to you more than others. The key thing is tough decisions have to be made. This is a big, big jump. Oop, my screen kind of went away. You guys can read it still, though, right? Okay, right sizing has been successful, and it has helped you, but it's not enough so far. State aid, 2.5% increase in foundation aid isn't enough. I'm hoping for more. Oh, you know what? We haven't even taken into account zero-emission buses. If that mandate goes, I think we're all underwater. All right, so tomorrow, if you get a chance, find a phone, call the legislator, tell them to give this thing up, move it back 5-6 years. We all want cleaner energy. I don't think we want kids breathing the diesel fumes of the drivers either. We're all set with that, no problem. But you guys don't have. Listen, if your contractor starts buying these, so let's just say your contractor works for 5 districts in your area, and they buy one for a neighboring district. Who's going to pay for it? It isn't them. It's all of you. It's a business model. Think about it. Cha-ching. So I get that thing moved back 5 to 7 years. Fast. Next thing is monitor the tax cap. Note the growing use of the appropriated fund balance and be aware of supermajority. Remember, you tried to do the supermajority last time. You may have to try it again because you're going to need some cash fast. I do have to tell you that I think it was really heroic that you tried to go for the above the tax cap last year. Sorry you didn't make it. I'm going to tell you something right now. My analysis is telling me if you had made it, this wouldn't have been such a harsh talk tonight at all. You've been in a much, much, much better place. Think about it this way. Let's make up a number. If you could get $250,000 more for the next 5 years, that's $1.25 million. Understand what I just said? Just like, remember I was taking the $10 away from you? Now I'm giving it to you. So the key thing is you've got some tough decisions to make. But I think we've covered a lot, turned over a lot of rocks and everything else. You know, and I think the thing is we're all trying to do a good job. Everything sounds like a good idea at the time. So this is a case of where we just pull ourselves up by the bootstraps and make some tough decisions to go on. I already looked back. We know what happened back there. Now what are we going to do about it? It's where you should focus your attention. Are there any questions?